Hello, it's Anne from Refugee Roots and we're going to be doing our art at home group today. Hope you're well and enjoying a little bit of sun that we're having and keeping safe as well. We're on our way out of lockdown, so just keep doing what you're doing, staying inside until things are a bit safer and we can meet in person, which would be really nice to do this group and see you in real life. So today we're doing our week 11 watercolour mark making and birthstones. So there's a couple of activities. What you'll need is your coloured papers. So you should have some yellows and blues and greens in your pack. Your watercolour tin, brush and cup of water as always. Your printed birthstone chart sheet, which looks like this and has kind of little gems on, and the little sponge. We used this last week. Doesn't matter if it's a bit dirty from that, that's okay. It's very small, so just keep checking your pack if it's fallen to the bottom, because you should all have one of these little sponges. You can use a washing up sponge or a makeup sponge, any kind of sponge that you have at home. So let's get started. There we go. Can you see I've got my papers? And I've got my watercolour colours. What we're going to be using is the black one today. And we'll start by doing some patterns. So I'm going to use a brush to start with and use the black watercolour paint. And we're going to do just loads of patterns on here. So I'm going to start with like some little lines. Can you see that one? There we go. Some little lines, and then next to them I'm going to stamp the brush down and see what happens when I stamp it kind of flat. And then some more lines. Now you can take your time with these. I'm going to show you a couple of ideas very quickly. But you can spend some time filling the whole sheet of paper, so you don't just have to do a little bit of this. Be nice to see the whole sheet filled and carry on and on. That's one pattern you could try. Another with the brush is some kind of crisscrossing lines. So straight lines. Oh, doesn't matter if it's not perfect. There's no wrong way to do this here. Just make sure you have enough black paint on. So stripes up. That's quite nice actually. It looks a bit like the Refugee Roots logo. You can keep it like that, or you can do stripes crossing over it, so doing a kind of crisscross pattern. That's another idea. Give it a go, see which one you like. Fill the whole page. And lastly, I'm going to show you some dabs that we can do with our sponge. Dip it in the water. Squeeze it a little bit. Rub it on the black there. So you've got some black on the sponge. And I'm just going to dab this on really randomly. So if you need a bit more water, go for that. And fill the whole page with these sponge dabs. They're quite fun to do, and we're doing them to dry for next week. So we'll just as a starter activity to warm us up, get those sheets of paper with loads of patterns on, have a play around and pop them to the side to dry, and we can start the next activity, which is this birthstone chart. And we're going to colour it in. Now, I put an example of the kind of colours that you can use. So these are actually gems, actual stones from the ground, and you can do real life colours. I've got an example here. Or you can make them up. It's completely up to you. And each month has its own stone that is related to it, or a symbol of it. So if you're born in May, like me, your birthstone is an emerald, which are usually green. So each month just has a gem that is that reminds you of it. So a way to do this is to paint a start layer, the first layer, of quite watered down paint. So not too thick, quite a lot of water. I'm starting with January as Garnet. Garnet is quite a red colour, so I'm going to start with the red, which when it's watered down can look pink, but we'll let that dry and we'll add to it and it will look a bit more 3D. And the next one, February's birthstone, so lots of people who are born in February might get presents or jewellery with amethysts in, and amethysts are usually purple. Now I've mixed my purple already, that was quite easy for me, but if you haven't mixed it yet, if you remember our colour wheel week, we mixed red and blue together, and that makes purple. So that's the only colour we don't have in our watercolour tin that we need to mix from the secondary colours. We have green and we have orange already in our tin, so we have to mix purple sometimes when we want to use it. And again, we're just doing a whole colour over all the shapes. And I'll do, so aquamarine is a kind of blue with a bit of green on it. So I'm going to do a blue with a bit of green. So you do the whole page how you like. I'm just going to start with these three to show you the different stages we'll go through with all of the gems. And I won't have time to show you them all, but do just relax and enjoy painting it. So once they're a bit dry and we've done our first layer of a block of colour, we can paint selected areas with a bit of a darker colour. So for our garnet, the first one, we can get some red. On our tin, we can put just a little bit of black in the red. And make sure we have the red quite thick, so you don't want it too watery this time. And then pick a few of the shapes. Now just make sure you're using just the tip of your brush. This can be quite tricky if you do have a bigger brush, so you might have to do bigger shapes or do 2 or 3 shapes next to each other. And just pick out a few of the shapes and do them a bit darker. And I'm actually going to try and mix the black in with the red on the page. Pull the colours together. Yeah. And again for the purple, make sure you have a thicker paint, so more paint on, and perhaps slightly darker colours, and then pick a few of the shapes that are drawn onto the gems. So these kind of triangles and pentagons, these shapes can help bring some 3D, so it's not flat to the picture. Yeah. And again with the next one, the aquamarine, just make sure the colour is quite thick and you're picking out some of the shapes. To be a bit darker. That's quite nice. Okay. Again, once more, the third stage, do it again. This time we're going to go even darker, so you might want to add some black to the colours, or some grey. Make sure that it's a bit drier, the surface is a bit dry in between your stages. So a bit of black to this amethyst. Think about where the shadows might be on the 3D object, where the light might be hitting it. And again with the amethyst. So you do this for all of them. Unfortunately, I won't have time to show you them all. But there's 3 of them. And I'll show you an example of what it might look like at the end. for your reference again. So you can have a look at the other colours, citrine and emerald and pearl. But yeah, give it a go and find the birthstone that's for your birthday and enjoy. See you next week. Bye.